Hey everybody, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Today I wanted to bring you out to the vegetable garden area and show you how well the tomatoes are doing. It's time for a tomato update, and just to give you a quick update at the very beginning of this is I'm really happy with how they're looking. Let's take a look. These 4 tomatoes right here are right next to our pathway that goes down the center of the garden. Notice I got a whole bunch of extra tomatoes over there in flats and peppers and stuff that I'm probably not going to do anything with. But I wanted to show you here a comparison between these. The one on the right is a Woodle orange. The one on the left is Paul Robeson. The next one over is one called Pink Jazz. And then this one is a Woodle orange. Now Woodle orange is my all-time favorite. But right here, what's interesting is the size. If you look here, and let me put them side by side, that Pink Jazz is humongous compared to that Woodle orange. And there's only one thing I did differently between the 2 heirloom tomatoes. I made a mixture of clover. I took clover leaves and put them together with cut willow. And then I steeped them in these little jugs. I'll show you one of those here in a second. And just for about 2 weeks. And I just kind of left them out here in the garden. And then I diluted them and watered with them on these plants here. I left the Woodle orange alone. I didn't want to touch them because I was doing that other experiment where I was comparing the composted site and the non-composted site, which is actually right back here. You can't see it because of the focus, but I didn't want to touch that. So these I used that mixture on, and just check out these leaves. They are huge. Now you might think that the clover probably created a whole lot of nitrogen, but what it actually is the extra plant hormones called auxins that are in the willows. Willow has been used for many years as a rooting hormone, so you can help use it to trigger roots in your cuttings and stuff, but it's also a growth hormone and will go all over your other plants. So if you want to encourage really strong growth, you could use some willow water and water your other plants with it. And I just want to show you, I mean, I'm still getting tomatoes, I'm getting flowers from it. And so things are looking really good, really healthy. It is a very nice canopy of leaves over top of this tomato plant. And the same can be said for every other tomato that I use this on. It really spurred a lot of great growth. And this is pretty much what the stuff looks like. I wish I could open this up and share the smell with you, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to smell that right now. It smells really bad. But you know, that's a good thing because it means it's all decayed. Clover is a legume which allows nitrogen to fix into the soil. So you're adding nitrogen to this mixture with the clover leaves. The other thing, you know, of course, the rooting hormone and the auxins from the willow. But I did throw in a couple other leaves here and there, some dandelion, anything that I found lying around that I thought would be nutritious for the plants, I put in here. If you think about it, anything with a really deep taproot is going to be reaching for nutrients that other plants that don't have as deep of a root system are not going to be able to get. So if you pull those out and put them into these mixtures, you put them into an accessible form for your plants. So one of the more common ones I use is curly dock. If you have comfrey, that is an amazing one. You use comfrey for that all the time. You can use that as a mulch as well. But just some ideas for you that are going to help you do some really low-cost fertilization techniques. Next to these tomatoes, I've got some mustard. This is an Asian mustard with, I think it was ruby streaks at one time, and it's kind of lessened. It's a little bit more yellow as it's self-sown. But it's a good ground cover and helps the companion plant near the tomato plants. Now this tomato plant is an interesting story. It is a big boy tomato, and that is a hybrid tomato that I had back in 2005. It's seed from years and years and years ago. And I just decided, well, let me just see if it'll grow. And so I threw it in a container, and sure enough, I got 2 plants out of it. So this one and the one right next door are growing well. Normally I stick with the heirloom tomatoes, but I had these seeds and I thought, well, why not? And then so over here we've got some other tomatoes in among the strawberry plants. And then over in the corner, this is kind of neat. You see that? I'm not sure you can. The focus isn't on. Right there is a garden spider. It's a little orb weaver. And these things are great in the garden. They catch all the bugs and stuff. But beyond that, you'll notice a little tomato. And this one is a yellow gooseberry. It's a cherry style tomato. It should be nice and sweet and delicious. So then we turn around, and again over here on these, I use that Willow water, and they have done fantastic. They are probably 4-foot tall tomato plants at this point, and they are starting their tomatoes. Here's one of the biggest tomatoes we got right now. That's Amish paste. Nice and healthy looking. They're doing awesome. Next to this Woodle orange is one of my favorite basil plants. I always plant basil near my tomatoes because it is a good companion plant because it thwarts the tomato hornworm. And if you've ever had one of those in the garden, they can be extremely damaging to your tomato plants. They'll devour the whole thing in a matter of a day. I mean, it's just crazy how fast they eat. But this kind of masks the scent of the tomato plants, and so they don't come over to it. And as an added bonus, it's just delicious. This is cinnamon basil, and this is red Reuben basil right next to it. And these are nutsedge, which I'm going to get rid of. There's always weeds to do. Another great companion plant for your tomatoes is garlic. And if you take a look at our garlic, it is putting out scapes right now. Scapes typically happen on the hardneck varieties of garlic. They can happen on the soft neck, but just not very often. So I've grown mostly the hardneck varieties around here. But they're kind of like a more mild flavored garlic that you can throw into your foods. Next to that over here, I've got some big boy tomatoes. I don't usually grow the hybrid varieties, but I had some really old seed and I wanted to see, is this still even viable seed? And it was from like 2005 or 2007, or a really long time ago now. And so those tomatoes actually grew. I got 2 plants out of it, so I put those in the garden. And as you can see, we're getting some flowers right there, so we should have some fruit before too long. Lots of flowers happening. Really excited to try those. There's nothing wrong with a hybrid tomato. I just like the heirloom tomatoes because they are more unique. They have a lot more colors and different flavors, and it's just fun to try. The other thing about heirloom tomatoes is that you can generally assume that they are going to be true to seed, so you can save the seed from them. Whereas with a hybrid type of tomato, you don't know if you're going to get the exact same thing if you were to sow it again. So that's another good reason to go with the heirloom tomatoes over the hybrid tomatoes. This little tomato is the yellow pear tomato, and it is aptly named due to the yellow pear-shaped fruit. So far we don't have any, but I can tell you that they are a prolific tomato that will come back year after year after year from self-sown tomatoes that fall in your garden. So you'll get babies that will breed true for a long time. Sometimes they will revert to, say, the orange pear. Just inside the entrance to the garden are my Amish paste tomatoes, and they're doing fantastic. I used the Willow water on them as well, and they have shot up here. They're about 4 feet tall, and they're already producing some good-sized tomatoes. That's the first one right there. Looking forward to some more. There's a couple more right up here coming. So it looks like we're just a couple weeks away from having some nice, fine, ripened tomatoes in our garden. So really excited, really happy with how things are going here in this garden this year. Of course, you know, with everything going on in the world, it's nice to have something that you can enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed this little walk through the tomato area. I'm really happy with how things are growing. And I hope you can take a few of these ideas that I use and bring them to your garden and help them to improve how things grow. I am a tomato gardener. I really love the tomatoes, and there's nothing better to me than BLTs in the middle of summer. And one quick tip that we do at our house, because you don't always have lettuce growing at the right time for your tomatoes, but you do have basil. You take that basil and you put it in place of the lettuce, and it is amazing. It's like an Italian BLT, and it is just fantastic. So highly recommend you take that tip and use it many, many times this summer. So anyway, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Love to have you along to check out the garden as it grows. Have a good one.